Good evening, I'm Hugh Downs.
And I'm Barbara Walters, and this is 2020.
From ABC News, around the world and into your home, the stories that touch your life. With Hugh Downs and Barbara Walters, this is 2020. Tonight, a medical mystery.
Have a look at my face.
Cambodian refugees, blind from witnessing the horrors of Pol Pot's Cameroon.
My eyes begin to get blurry little bit by little bit, and then I can see almost nothing.
Grotesque sights overwhelmed their minds and triggered psychological reactions.
I don't want to see anymore. I don't want to see them kill each other.
Tonight, the memories that blind them, treatment that could help them. John Stossel reports, See No Evil.
You certainly wouldn't pour formaldehyde in a milk jug, rinse it out, pour milk in it, and feed that to your baby, would you?
No, but that's what some truckers do. Many haul garbage and chemicals on one trip, then carry food on the next. Home video shows it. Whistleblowers talk about it.
In my opinion, I think everybody does it.
Often without cleaning and with no questions asked. Stone Phillips investigates garbage in the food chain. Plus a magic moment for this little girl. Born without a hand, she rejected a hook. Then this device...
There we go.
...changed her world.
All right.
A miracle for her and for others like her. Bob Brown, with the inventor who brought it to life. Two good hands. Those stories tonight, January 5th, 1990.
Tonight, and let's hope, Hugh, that this isn't a harbinger of the 1990s, garbage in the food chain. Now, how careful are you with the food you eat? Do you eat from dishes that are barely rinsed? Can you imagine the same trucks that haul our food also hauling garbage and toxic substances? That can't happen? Well, it can, and it does.
And among other things, it raises the question, if garbage and toxins are in the food chain, what's coming out on our dinner plates? Well, Stone Phillips has been investigating this. He's talked with food inspectors and whistleblowers, and he has evidence that should make us think, because it could make us sick.
Garbage. Moist and sticky. Maggot-infested, smelly garbage. Just imagine the nutritious fruit you serve to your kids. The meat, potatoes, and vegetables you serve for dinner. Being hauled in the same trucks that carry garbage. It's appalling, but it actually happens. It's called garbage backhauling. Landfills in New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania are filling up, and garbage is being shipped to southern and midwestern states, but not always in garbage trucks.
Okay, here we are at the Center Point landfill.
This videotape was made by a group of citizens who live in Center Point, Indiana. The community was outraged over the number of trucks that haul food products showing up here to dump garbage. This refrigerator truck usually hauls fresh produce, and it's filled with trash. If you look closely, you'll see maggots crawling along the walls of the trailer. The truck is supposed to be cleaned before it takes off with meat or vegetables on its next trip, but there's no guarantee it will be clean enough.
Like I always say, the smell is something that you just cannot hardly believe.
Incredibly, there are no federal laws that clearly make this kind of backhauling illegal. And just as Congress was beginning to investigate garbage backhauling last summer, 2,500 miles away in Washington State, Clara Stior, food safety inspector for the state's Department of Agriculture, got a call from a group of truckers about another form of backhauling, posing an even greater potential health threat: chemical backhauling.
I've gotten rumors of such thing, but I've never had any evidence that we could act on. So I'm very grateful that the Pomeranskis came forward.
Here, you want to look at one of our papers?
Jim and Ricky Pomeranki are truckers living in Yakima, Washington. Last year, they were working for this trucking firm, Premium Transport, owned by James Ketchum. They were hired to haul liquid food products like orange juice concentrate and apple juice cross-country in these tanker trucks. But it wasn't long before they were ordered to backhaul all kinds of toxic chemicals in the same tankers.
And we've hauled like plastic resin, we've hauled formaldehyde, we've hauled lignum liquor, and then we turn right around and go over on the coast there, or down the road 50 miles and load cranberry juice.
The Pomeranki's trips included back-to-back hauls like marine lube oil, which is used to lubricate mechanical equipment and may contain anything from arsenic to barium. And then they hauled Canadian whiskey. There were water-based resins, plastic-like substances, which can be toxic if consumed. Then a load of molasses. They even hauled formaldehyde, which is a carcinogen and is used as an embalming fluid.
Why would a trucker haul toxic chemicals on one load and then food products on the next?
Money is behind this practice and every other one just like it. They do it for money. They send us to New York with a load of Yakima's grapes or cranberry juice, and when we get unloaded, they don't have anything like that in New Jersey. They have chemicals. So they go down and they wash the tank out, and then they go and they put chemicals in them, and they bring them back here to our cities that need chemicals to process things.
Clifford Harvison with the National Tank Truck Carriers Association says backhauling chemicals is not a common practice.
I do not believe that the practice of introducing chemicals into food-grade tank trailers is widespread. I think the fact that no single element of contamination of any food-grade product has ever been traced back to tank truck transportation kind of underscores that fact.
How common is this practice of backhauling chemicals?
In my opinion, I think everybody does it.
Dave Heltzer also worked for Premium Transport. He was only supposed to haul chemicals, but would regularly haul food products in the same tank.
Talking to drivers and being at wash racks and truck stops and places that we load just seems to be common practice.
So it's going on every day?
Oh, I'd say so.
Dave's fiancée, Sharon Sonner, was a bookkeeper for Premium Transport, and she often went on the road with Dave.
I was new to the industry, and I was appalled. You certainly wouldn't pour formaldehyde in a milk jug, rinse it out, pour milk in it, and feed that to your baby, would you? That's basically what's been going on. It's disgusting.
The public risk is there. We don't know what it would be. There's no scientific data done on such things. I mean, how much formaldehyde do you want in your orange juice, or how much marine lube oil do you want in your juice? It's just not a good practice.
There are no government regulations on how tankers should be cleaned. Matlack, one of the largest trucking fleets in the country, recommends that tankers that carry chemicals be washed with caustic detergents and other appropriate cleaning agents, depending on the chemical. That may be followed with a steam cleaning. And even the hoses on the tanker may require changing. But there are an estimated 125,000 tankers on the road every day, and for them, cleaning can be an expensive and time-consuming process. So truckers who've hauled chemicals and need to pick up a load of food products may use all kinds of tricks to cover up traces of chemical residue.
How easy is it to disguise the fact that you've had chemicals in the truck? How do you get rid of the smell, for instance?
Well, you get rid of the odor by using this DM1000 deodorizer. Chemically eliminates odor.
Mr. Ketchum gave us that bottle of deodorizer himself and told us that if we carried anything in the tank that had a really noticeable odor, just to put 2 or 3 drops of that in the tank, because it's pretty powerful.
This apple juice is being pumped into this stainless steel tank that the food processor was told only hauled other liquid food products. The trucks are visually inspected, and at many plants the food product is actually tested upon arrival. But food companies are only testing for bacteria, not toxic chemicals.
When you were asked what you'd been hauling when you pulled into a food company to haul juice, what would you say?
The standard answer was apple juice. That's what we told them.
And you were instructed to say that?
Yes.
There's nobody here at
the truckers repeatedly complained to James Ketchum, owner of Premium Transport, about backhauling chemicals, and they say he ignored them. 2020 attempted to reach Ketchum by phone and mail and got no response. So while we were in Yakima, we stopped by his offices to give him an opportunity to respond to the truckers' claims.
Mr. Ketchum?
Yeah?
I'm Stone Phillips with ABC News. Can we talk to you for a few minutes?
No, sir. I'm available.
Allegations about Ketchum's deceptive practices shocked his food product clients, who say they didn't have a clue that chemicals were being hauled in the same tanks as their products.
We're talking about major food companies here, aren't we? We're not talking about minor or local change.
We hauled to Frito-Lay, we hauled to Ocean Spray. We do a lot of work. Juices, General Mills, cereal companies, cookie factories, Land O'Lakes. And the Land O'Lakes was making it for
baby food
for Carnation, a new line of baby food. And when you're hauling chemicals and plastic resins and things, you know, you drive down the road and you ask each other, well, I wonder if this will come out. You know, what could happen if something did stick in there that nobody could see?
Did it happen? Did it stick in there?
And it finally happened, yes.
On November 17, 1988, Jim and Ricky Pomeranke pulled into this chemical plant in Schenectady, New York, where they loaded a substance called alkyl phenol novolac resin. It is a clear, fingernail polish-like plastic resin, which contains traces of formaldehyde. The Pomerankes believed that resin stuck to the sides of the truck for nearly 3 months, despite repeated thorough cleanings. And during that time, they crisscrossed the country, carrying more than 20 loads of food and other toxic chemicals before they discovered resin peeling off the inside of the tanker.
I had looked at it each and every time. At least 21 different shippers had stuck their nose in there and their eyes in there and looked at it. And as long as the whole inside of it was covered and there was no scratches in it or it wasn't peeling off, nobody seen it.
She knows better than to jump.
The Pomerankes worked for Jim Ketchum for a couple of months after the resin incident and then decided they'd had enough.
They sent us to Chicago to load a load of Aliphat 47, which is a lubricant that I was talking about earlier that's inedible to man or beast. And her and I sat there all day and all night and discussed this, and I made up my mind that I was not going to haul any more chemicals.
The decision cost the Pomerankes their jobs. 6 months later, they were testifying before Congress, along with their friends Sharon Sonner and Dave Helzer, who'd also been fired. They were blowing the whistle on Ketchum's operation, and someone was finally listening.
The risks are obvious. This practice is a disaster waiting to happen.
Most food companies like General Mills, Frito-Lay, Land O'Lakes, Carnation, and Ocean Spray say they've ordered their suppliers and their own shipping departments not to do business with premium transport, and they've taken additional precautions.
But other companies like Safeway, the national grocery chain, have continued to do business with premium transport because the Food and Drug Administration says it investigated Premium and several other trucking companies and found no evidence of food contamination. Remember, hauling food and chemicals or garbage in the same truck is not in itself against the law. Only when there's evidence of actual contamination can the FDA bring charges. And catching a company red-handed with a contaminated load is next to impossible. There are too many trucks and too few inspectors.
We have to be present when it occurs. The mere fact that records exist showing that one company hauled a chemical product and then later hauled a food product is insufficient evidence to bring a case in court to prohibit that practice on the part of those truckers.
Mr. Ketchum?
Yeah. So Jim Ketchum is still in business. Ricky Pomeranke is unemployed. Dave Helzer is struggling to find enough work to meet the payments on his truck. Jim Pomeranke was hauling logs in Yakima, but is no longer employed. And they all fear they've been blackballed from the industry.
The drivers themselves agree that what we're doing is a good thing, and yet the trucking industry has remained totally silent on this issue. What do people have to have before they respond? It only takes one contaminated load that has the possibility of reaching into 70,000 homes, one load. That's all it takes.
Good for them to speak out. They're the heroes. Stan, I'm amazed that there are no laws. I mean, this is all news.
There are no laws against this, Barbara. If you've got a truck, you can haul chocolate syrup or juice or any other thing that gets into the food chain one way and then a chemical or garbage the other way, and nobody can touch you unless they have this evidence of contamination. That's hard to come by. And there are no standards for the cleaning. Premium Transport and some other trucking companies, they clean,
But we've heard of other companies that order their drivers to throw in a bottle of Clorox, add some water, and drive around the block, and that's a cleaning.
And now there's testimony before Congress, but by the time Congress gets around to passing laws, who knows how long that'll be.
Several months at the very least.
Thank you for bringing it to our attention, and thanks those people.
Later in the program, a device that for some children makes dreams come true. Bob Brown has that. But first, John Stossel's report. Women blind today because scenes like these unfolded before their eyes. See no evil right after this.
It's Sears National Fitness Month, so hurry to Sears. Our Lifestyler Air Cycle with 3 pre-programmed exercise routines is just $179.83. And our buying power means you'll find much, much more, all at Sears now.
There's never been an offer like this before. Now, for the first time, for 45 days only, Chrysler-built minivans are on sale. The world's best sellers with over 2 million satisfied customers. Now you get $1,000 on the 1990 Plymouth Voyager. It's never been on sale before. It may never be on sale again. Plymouth Voyager from Chrysler Plymouth. Offer ends January 31st.
My mother gave me this table when I got married, and every week I dusted it with Pledge. Then I gave it to my daughter.
When I got married, and every week I dust it with Pledge.
For 30 years, it's had a beautiful shine, week after week.
Year after year, with no buildup. End dust just evaporates, leaving wood looking as dry and unprotected as before. But a Pledge shine protects beautifully. And when my daughter gets married...
Yeah, never.
With Pledge, dusting can be beautiful. Culinary experts have assembled from far and near to sample a selection of the finest gourmet foods and to decide which one truly sets the standard for best taste. The critics' overwhelming choice: New Fancy Feast, the best tasting gourmet canned cat food. So moist and delicious, cats preferred it over every other brand. New Fancy Feast gourmet cat food. The feast cats fancy above all the rest.
During Sears National Home Appliance Sale, turn your house into a Kenmore house with America's largest capacity washer and matching dryer, just $399.87 and $299.87. Only at Sears and Sears Brand Central through January 13th.
Tomorrow, Mideast radicals sow the seeds for a deadly harvest. It's Mission Impossible on its new night. Then, on the ABC Saturday Mystery,
a cop lost his life.
Telly Savalas' Kojak tomorrow. Monday, behind a public life of glamour and romance.
Rock Hudson, every girl's fantasy, the perfect man.
A secret that could destroy his career.
I'm gonna live the way I want.
A world television premiere, Rock Hudson, Monday.
If seeing something awful can give you nightmares, can seeing a nightmare make you blind? Experts say that yes, it can, and that it has happened to a group of women living in California. John Stossel's report reminds us of a nightmare most of us were only vaguely aware of, but in their minds, these survivors see it every day.
Pin Me and her granddaughter are going for a walk. The child has to lead because her grandmother's world has been reduced to a tapestry of vague images and horrible memories. Pin Me and more than 150 Cambodian refugees are legally blind, yet doctors can find no physical reason for the blindness. Most of the refugees live isolated lives in a section of Long Beach, California called Little Phnom Penh. Because so many of these women have vision problems, and because of the suspected cause of the blindness, researchers believe they've stumbled upon a major psychological discovery.
Can you tell her I'm going to be checking her visual acuity now, please?
It began when some of the visually impaired women applied for disability benefits.
Mrs. M, I need you to stand on the other side of this black line.
The welfare department referred many of them to Gretchen Van Bummel at the Doheny Eye Institute in Los Angeles.
And they'd say, check to make sure that this person's vision is better than they're claiming it is.
because I'm sure that that's true. That's right. Okay. So all I want her to do is look up into the mirror and watch the light.
Chin M is one of dozens of Cambodian women Gretchen examined. This test indicates whether her brain receives visual information from the eye. The pulsating light causes a reaction in Chin M's brain waves, which are displayed on this monitor. It shows that her eyes are sending signals to the brain. This held true for most of the women tested.
And the eyes did work. The circuits worked.
The eye, absolutely. Tests revealed that they had very normal function, that they should be able to see quite well, and yet no matter how much you pushed, they said, no, I can't see that. It made me think that perhaps something else was going on.
At first, she suspected they might be faking it to get disability benefits. But then the welfare department turned them down, and they still said they couldn't see. So what was the problem, since their eyes were clearly not damaged? Gretchen decided to do an in-depth study of 30 of the women. For help, she turned to a college friend, psychologist Patricia Rosé.
And when we began to look at their backgrounds and did some systematic interviews with them, we discovered that they had a trauma background that was extraordinary, far worse than we could have ever imagined. Have her look at my face.
What events could be so severe that they could make a person blind? The researchers hoped that by exploring the histories of these women, the answers would surface. We focus on the accounts of just 4 of them. Chin M had lived with her husband and 9 children in the town of Bating Bar. She fondly remembers a beautiful country before civil war and fanaticism tore it apart.
During the flooding season, it was great fun. You saw children outside playing in the water. There were boats everywhere. It was a pretty sight. Whenever I remember, it makes me feel happy.
Another of the group, Yang Long, remembers when she could see the vivid colors of her homeland, where she lived with her husband and 5 children.
During the rainy season, it was all so beautiful. Everything seemed so fresh and green. And everything I put in the ground was going to grow.
Then, 20 years ago, civil war began. The communist Khmer Rouge tried to overthrow Cambodia's U.S.-backed government. In April 1975, they succeeded.
The Phnom Penh government surrendered to rebel forces today. Government troops were ordered to lay down their arms, and people were told to keep calm and welcome the insurgents.
Like most everyone, Chin M and her family celebrated at first. Now that the Civil War was over, they thought the bloodshed had ended.
When they took over Phnom Penh, they told us not to be worried about anything. It's going to be peaceful again. But after 3 days, they made all of the merchants move out of the marketplace, including myself.
The Khmer Rouge ordered everyone to leave the cities. Millions were sent to the countryside to work on farms. Overnight, cities were transformed into virtual ghost towns. In addition, Khmer Rouge leader Pol Pot saw the family unit as a threat to his vision of an ideal communist society. So children were taken from their parents. Chin M was separated from her husband and 9 children. Lor Poi was another casualty of the Khmer Rouge.
I wanted to live with my children and my husband, but they wouldn't allow it. We worked day and night, every night until midnight.
Whoever did something wrong, they took to the corner of the house and beat them. I could hear them. The next day I could see blood behind my house. Whenever I think about it, I get really scared, and I shiver.
1975 became known as the Year Zero. It was meant to be the beginning of Pol Pot's master plan for a utopian communist society. His soldiers, many of them children, began systematically killing everyone they saw as a threat. Included were policemen, soldiers, bureaucrats, anyone with education. Buddhism was outlawed. Monks were executed. Millions of innocent victims were caught in the nightmare of starvation and torture.
Whoever held a political, educated, or high position, they killed the whole family. Each day I'm really scared, because I'm a soldier's wife.
As each woman revealed tragically similar stories, there emerged a pattern of almost unimaginable atrocity.
Did you see people killed?
My sister. When they tied people up, I closed my eyes. I almost died when they clubbed them. They wanted to kill me many times. I don't know why I'm alive.
Simply because Chin M's husband was a soldier, they killed him and his children.
My children, they were all starved to death. And I'm very sad. I don't have a husband. Very sad.
I saw them take my sister away to be killed. They took my brother too, and then came to look for me. When they came for me, I pretended to be happy. If they would see me cry, they would take me away too, so I hid and cried. My niece was about 3 months old. They grabbed her and then hit her against the tree. And the children who were 2 or 3 years old, they hit them with a stick. 4 children, all of them are dead. The husband, the wife, and the children.
Why would they kill a baby?
Because her brother was a policeman.
I stepped on a lot of dead bodies. I had to dig graves for children. I had to bury the children. Telling the story is very difficult. Very difficult. Almost like dying.
Each day, I noticed someone disappear. I would secretly ask where they are. And one day at the rice paddy where I was working, a lady pointed to the ground. She said, "Here is the person you asked for the other day." Sometimes they don't bury them too deep. The dogs can still dig them up and carry off part of the human leg to eat.
It's estimated that under Pol Pot's 44-month reign, more than 1 million people were executed or died of starvation.
I don't want to see anymore. I don't want to see them kill each other. I just want to close my eyes. I don't want to see. When I see the beatings, my body is shaking, and my eyes cannot see.
We began to understand that what was probably really going on with them was they were still living the trauma or the nightmare of Cambodia. The mind can only take so much. And then after a while it just closes down and it says no more.
The researchers say that one thing that supports that theory is that the extent of the vision loss depended on the amount of suffering.
The worse their vision was associated with the length of time that they spent in Cambodia and Thailand combined. So that the person that spent the longest amount of time there complained of the worst subjective visual acuity.
Do other psychologists accept this?
We've known for years that there is what's called a conversion disorder, which is the conversion of some kind of anxiety to some kind of body part, therefore numbing that body part so you couldn't feel your arm, for example, or you might go deaf or blind. In this case, I think it's very clearly related to what they were seeing.
In 1979, the Vietnamese invaded Cambodia and ended Pol Pot's 4-year occupation.
Vietnamese attack shattered the early morning calm of Christmas Day.
The hardships continued under the Vietnamese, so hundreds of thousands of Cambodians escaped, crossing the border to giant refugee camps in Thailand. It wasn't much better here, so for many there was another exodus to America. Life here is safer, but for the blind women, still like a prison. Many never leave their homes. They fear the new culture and the new language.
And this fear is what keeps them blind?
I think it sort of wraps itself around. It just keeps going and growing in their minds. So we felt like part of the problem that was allowing the trauma to reproduce itself over and over was isolation.
The isolation is hard to penetrate because the terror of the Khmer Rouge has extended to Long Beach. Gretchen arranged to visit the home of one blind woman and her family.
And all that, we went to the house and there wasn't a stick of furniture in the room. They had packed up and moved, and it was about 48 hours.
Because they have such fear of authority.
Pol Pot's regime would say, we want you to help the government. And what that meant was, we're going to take you out into the jungle and we're going to murder you. So to be removed from a home environment, a safe environment, is a very traumatic thing for these people.
Ironically, getting out of the house may be their only hope for recovery. To persuade them that life here can be good, Gretchen and a Cambodian social worker, Kunthea Kang, sometimes take the women on excursions. They hope that by showing them that they can handle America, use public transportation, for example, the refugees will become less fearful, and then their eyesight may improve.
This is like a trip to Mars in a way. This would be as if you and I got on the space shuttle.
Some of the women seem thrilled. But then, on the return trip, this lady has an anxiety attack.
If these women learn how to do this, then they can take a certain level of control over their lives, and we found that the better they feel about themselves, the better their vision ends up being. I think it's a tremendous sense of being free and being happy.
For Yang Long, it seems to have helped. She's resumed gardening. Now she says she accepts life here, and her vision has improved.
When I was back in Cambodia, I used to do this. I miss Cambodia, and this reminds me of home. This is a little of my country.
But the unfortunate likelihood is that most of these women will not be reached. They have seen too much and been scarred too deeply. It is understandable that they no longer want to be part of our world. For them, retreat is the only escape from the madness.
Sometimes my heart stops beating. I almost have a heart attack or something. I don't want to see any more killing, no more murdering. My eyes always filled with tears, always falling.
My God, John, the amount of suffering these women go through. Have we ever seen this kind of blindness on a big scale before? I'm thinking of World War II and the mass executions the Nazis carried out.
Never on a big scale like this. I mean, Freud wrote about it. He talked about hysterical blindness, that people would go blind in response to sexual conflict when there's nothing wrong. And now the therapists prefer to talk about conversion disorders, where you might have a fear and you convert that to a physical symptom. But there were a few cases after World War II, a few of Holocaust survivors, but never a group this big, never 100 people from the same cause.
Well, we can hope that more of them will make some progress toward restoring their sight. Fascinating. Thank you, John.
Well, next, a happy story. If it looks like a hand and it looks like a hand, then to these kids it looks like a miracle and it seems like magic. Bob Brown has a beautiful story about two good hands.
Not since everybody liked Ike. Not since a real Rocky became champ. Not since 1952 has a luxury sedan been named Motor Trend's Car of the Year. Introducing the new V8-powered Lincoln Town Car. The most spacious, the quietest, and the most technologically advanced luxury sedan ever to win Motor Trend's Car of the Year. Lincoln. What a luxury car should be.
Them lemons they roll, them lemons they bounce. I even seen a lemon drop. Them lemons smell so fresh and pretty, like lemon fresh Clorox. Them lemons smell so fresh and pretty, lemon fresh Clorox bleach.
What happens when you add Clorox bleach to soft scrub cleanser? Ooh, the label turns green. And stains come clean. Get soft scrub with the stain-fighting power of bleach.
On this job, it doesn't take long to get a pounding headache. Even when the noise stops, I can still feel it drilling away up here. For headaches, I used to take aspirin or Tylenol, but today, I take Advil. See, Advil's strong. Just one Advil is as effective as 2 regular-strength Tylenol. And Advil doesn't upset my stomach the way aspirin can. Advil gets rid of my tough headache so I can give everything to the job. Advil, tablets and caplets, advanced medicine for pain.
I was an IRS agent for 24 years. You can imagine, people weren't very happy to see me coming. I stopped working for them about 5 years ago. Now I'm a member of AARP, and I volunteer to help people do their taxes through the AARP Tax Aid Program. And you know, I hear something I thought I never would.
Boy, am I glad to see you.
AARP, making a difference.
If your child had only one hand, how would you feel to see her do this or this for the very first time? Bob Brown with the man who makes it happen. 2 good hands when 2020 continues.
Monday on ABC's World News Tonight, educating students about rape on campus. What to do in social situations when a date gets out of hand.
So a woman said no, and you had sex. Then are you a rapist?
Watch Peter Jennings on ABC's World News Tonight, Monday.
This is an Eyewitness News Brief. Now here's Marianne Childers.
Good evening. Tonight on Eyewitness News at 10, 2 Chicago police officers surrender after being indicted for the murder of a suburban man. We'll tell you about what prosecutors are calling a case of excessive force. Also tonight, a new development in another suburban murder case, this one involving the son of a political candidate. We'll have exclusive details. And Chicago restaurants battle for business by combining eating with entertainment. Those stories and the weekend forecast tonight on Eyewitness News at 10.
Savings are in the wind with 20 to 50% off selected merchandise during Sail On, beginning January 7th at Marshall Fields.
Those April showers.
Dinner with Amanda. You remember that? Conference in Colorado? Ah, yes. You used to hate April. Taxes, sorting through receipts. But as a Gold Card member, you get this year-end summary of charges. Itemized, civilized, far less taxing.
Whenever April showers come along.
The American Express. Gold Card.
Mayhem, Murder, and Mitchum tonight at 11.
Do you have a wish list? Well, you're about to meet children whose only wish has always been simply to have 2 good hands. Every year, 2,500 Americans are born without a hand. Now, most can be fitted with hooks, and they do just fine. But in certain ways, the hook can be difficult for children. A man who recognized that set out to fulfill those children's wishes. Bob Brown has his story and tender moments from the lives he has touched.
Looking at my photo album, we have hundreds of photos of Alex and maybe 4 or 5 with the hook on. And that just shows how little he wore it. And it looks strange. And I think that he was aware enough to know that it was not a hand and did not look good.
Kathy Wright knew that being born with only one complete arm was just the beginning of the challenges her son Alex would have to face. She knew he would also have to adjust to wearing a hook and harness. Alex wore the device until he was 3, but he hated it, despite the fact that doctors said it was the best alternative for children his age.
Unfortunately, we put too much trust in our doctors, and I feel a little guilty about that now, that we were so trusting, because we were wrong to trust them.
Now Alex is 5, and he's practicing to face 100 people at a music recital. His mother says his outlook has changed dramatically. She decided to replace his hook with a new, realistic-looking, motor-driven hand on a device called a myoelectric arm. As striking as the improvement in Alex may seem, this $10,000 device is also the subject of a controversy among specialists who believe that children under 5 are too young to adapt to it.
There is no evidence that it is important to the development of that child that they have one at a younger age.
Dr. John Fisk, the president of a national association of clinics, says the hook is more practical for young children and that the cosmetics of myoelectrics shouldn't be emphasized over other values.
We would like to see kids develop a positive body image the way they're born, with their deficiency, with their disability. And we emphasize to families to support the strengths of that child, not the deficiencies. We do not feel there's any harm done by not fitting them early.
This man, however, believes that the earlier children are fitted with myoelectric arms, the better. Tom Haslam got interested in prosthetics as the son of an orthopedic surgeon. But he is not a doctor, and because of his views, he's been a maverick in the field of prosthetics. Haslam is the designer and manufacturer of myoelectric arms for children at this workshop in Houston. 6 months ago, he fit a myoelectric arm on the youngest infant ever to wear one, a 4.5-month-old girl. He claims a record of success with young patients, despite the objections raised by his critics.
I know a lot of the objections are that it's too expensive. It's too complicated, it's too heavy, and it breaks down.
In my opinion, the reason those statements are made is the people making them don't know anything about myoelectrics. We do agree with the expense. These componentries are expensive. We're talking about the price of a mid-size automobile. As far as repair is concerned, the downtime on the arm is approximately 2 days a year. Your car is in the shop more often than that. As far as weight is concerned, for the infants, the arms weigh less than 2/3 of a pound. That has not been a problem.
No one argues about the basic technology, which has been available for adults for years. But adults must learn how to coordinate the muscles in contact with 2 electrodes that are wired inside the artificial arm.
Those electrodes read the muscle signal, one to open and one to close, using opposing muscles. The problem with that is you couldn't train children to do that.
Haslam miniaturized the circuitry and reduced the number of electrodes in the arm from 2 to 1, allowing children to use simple muscle flexing to send the signal that opens the hand. He also schedules training sessions for the children that begin even before they're fitted with a myoelectric arm. The child is first taught to flex a muscle that activates a pincer by remote control, allowing simple tasks like picking up a ball.
Good. Open.
Here in Haslam's clinic last June was a 7-year-old named Marina Rakes, who had come to Houston from her home in Indiana with her mother, Kim. Because she's older than 5, fitting a myoelectric arm on Marina isn't as controversial as it is for younger children. But her doctors had continued to recommend a hook, and like Alex Wright, Marina had rejected it.
What did it look like? Was it?
It was little, because I was little, and it was like 2 hooks like that. It was kind of weird.
Why didn't you like it?
Because I couldn't hardly do anything. I couldn't tie my shoes or anything like that.
And it just become a nuisance more than anything. So that's when we got rid of it.
For the last 2 years, Marina has preferred living without any artificial device at all, in spite of the restrictions it has put on her life. So by coming to be fitted with one of Haslam's arms, Marina and her mother Both hoped they would find an artificial limb that Marina wouldn't simply discard. The morning she had waited for came last June 8th. Haslam's shop had finished making the new arm for Marina, and it was time to try it out.
There we go.
Haslam made a few adjustments in the sensitivity of the electrode and the fit of the arm, but the question was how Marina would react and whether she would be able to activate the hand naturally in her first trial.
Can you make it open using the muscle out here?
Squeeze in. You can make the muscle this way. Remember how you practiced? Remember how you bent your arm?
There we go. All right. Now go the other way. There. Do it again. Very good. All right.
What do you think?
Do you like it?
Here. Let me see you pick this up. Open and close.
You have a little spot that's a little tight or something, you let Linda and I know and we'll make it better. And if the hand's too hard to open or too easy to close or anything such as that, you just let us know and we'll get it all done for you.
When she got the two hands and I could see those fingers moving and working out, it was just like, well, it was an answered prayer. It really was.
I wanted it for a long time.
Later in their motel room, Marina and her mother shared another new experience. A touch of imagination, and the new arm became a part of her in a way a hook never could have.
It looks so nice when we get it done. Are you making it? Okay, now.
Don't let go.
It's okay. That happens with all.
On that same day, in a park not far from Haslam's clinic, Marina, who hadn't yet learned to ride a bicycle because she could never grip both handlebars, took a trial run, with her mother balancing and guiding the bike all the way.
Don't let go.
Just practice on your steering. Okay? Just want her to be a normal child just like everybody else. That's my dream, that she can go through life and be self-confident and happy and do anything she sets her mind to do, and I know she can now.
I'm trying to. I can't.
Open.
I'm too nervous.
You're too nervous. You got it.
4 months later, in her neighborhood in Clarksville, Indiana, Marina was on her own. We paid a visit here to see whether the arm had broken down or proven to be too heavy, but most importantly, how Marina had adjusted to it after having rejected 4 earlier attempts to fit her with different types of artificial limbs before the myoelectric arm.
We've only had it for 4 months, but we've had it for 4 months without any problems, and if it does break down, it's immediate repair and return, so to me that's not a negative connotation with the arm.
You had said that you wanted to try to learn to play the piano. Have you been able to do that?
Yeah.
And how's that going?
Fine.
There you go. Move on up to D.
She has a little beginner's piano lesson. She's on the same program that any other child her age would be on. This is the age they recommend to start piano lessons. And her instructors told us that she's right up there with all the rest of the kids.
So, from what we were told by the parents we talked with, who had all become supporters of Haslam, the issues of cost and weight and repairs are balanced by the use their children get from the myoelectric arms and the way other kids react to them.
Not too long ago, we had a field trip, and I was the room mother. And I noticed that they had buddies, you know, and they had to hold hands. Well, his buddies would grab either hand. It didn't make any difference to them, and that made me feel really good. Alex, on the other hand, always wanted them to hold his real hand because I think he wanted to feel the contact.
Like every other kid who's had a music lesson, Alex Wright eventually faced what can be a paralyzing prospect under any circumstances. A room full of anxious parents and smiling strangers gathered for a recital.
My name is Alex Wright, and I'm going to play A2.
At this stage, Alex's motor-driven hand opens and closes on command, and he can grip a pick with it. But it will be years before hands with finely defined movements become available, and many doctors continue to point out that a child can also use a hook and harness to accomplish a similar variety of tasks. The most important difference is a matter of perception.
He would not have been able to do this with a hook or a claw. And I don't think he would have wanted to go up on that recital stage in front of 50 to 100 people with a hook or a claw on. And he's doing what anybody else could do. So he feels special.
Ready?
We believe that it's a two-handed world, and therefore you ought to fit children with hands. Watching somebody hit home runs, children playing golf, riding bicycles, leading normal children's lives. That's what it's all about.
That is what it's all about. Bob, does medical insurance pay for any of this? Because it is expensive.
In almost all the cases we checked, insurance covers about 80%, which leaves around $2,000 for the family to pick up.
And as they said, it's about the price of a moderate car. I don't understand how some doctors can object to this. I mean, you know, a hook, you think of Captain Hook and Peter Pan, all the scary things. Why don't they see that the psychological and cosmetic is a part of it?
Well, Tom Haslam isn't a doctor, and a lot of doctors prefer to stick with what's tried and true and familiar and less expensive until there's a volume of medical research that proves otherwise. So there has been some resistance to that. But the point you make is absolutely one of the most important you can make. There's no reason why, with the technology we have today, you can't do a better job of combining the function of an artificial limb with the way it looks. And I've never known anyone who wore an artificial limb that wasn't important to.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's nice to see how happy it makes us children. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you, Bob. Well, next, Manuel Noriega arrives in our drug war status report.
I like rich, creamy tasting things, but I also like to stay away from cholesterol and saturated fat. I found a smart new way to do both. New Coffee Mate Liquid Non-Dairy Creamer. All the rich, creamy taste of half and half, but 75% less saturated fat and no cholesterol in coffee, over fruit, or cereal. Coffee Mate Liquid is a smart new way to have the taste you like without the fat and cholesterol you don't.
Rich, creamy, and smart. New Coffee Mate Liquid from Carnation in your grocer's dairy case.
Winter's when you really need an automatic garage door opener. And right now, only Sears has this quality Craftsman half-horsepower garage door opener for just $129.96. A great value. So come to Sears fast and get in out of the cold.
Chrysler is the only car company to make a driver's side airbag standard in every car it builds in the U.S. It's a difference you can live with.
Inside. Internal Affairs is the most important division on the force. Outside.
I want you to kill my mother and father.
Different sides of the law.
You know Dennis Speck?
Yeah, it's a great guy.
One of the most productive officers on the entire force.
Richard Gere.
Hi, Raymond.
Andy Garcia. Internal Affairs.
Can I trust you? Of course you can trust me. I'm a cop.
Rated R. Starts Friday, January 12th at theaters everywhere.
Did you know that if your business isn't using AT&T, your long-distance company could be wasting your time? Other long-distance companies take over 40% longer than AT&T to connect calls. And all those extra seconds spent waiting can add up to hundreds of lost hours. So many hours, it's like paying someone to sit around for over a month to do absolutely nothing. Productivity, another AT&T advantage.
Sunday.
I want those men in shape.
Clint Eastwood takes on a band of misfit Marines.
My weapons jam.
And his ex-wife. At a special time.
This cat, he's nuts.
Clint Eastwood, Marsha Mason, Heartbreak Ridge, Sunday.
When Manuel Noriega walked into the arms of U.S. authorities this week, it represented a major success for George Bush. But the first thing the president emphasized was its significance to the war on drugs. We look at that in this week's Drug War Status Report. It's quite an image. The mugshot of General Manuel Noriega. His surrender Wednesday night gave President Bush a chance to appear in the winner's circle.
His apprehension and return to the United States should send a clear signal that the United States is serious in its determination that those charged with promoting the distribution of drugs cannot escape the scrutiny of justice.
Yesterday, in a federal court, Noriega was arraigned on a variety of charges related to drugs and drug trafficking. Topping the list, that he accepted $4.6 million from Colombia's Medellin drug cartel to help get cocaine to the U.S. and protect them from the law. Of course, Noriega's lawyers insist he's innocent. The general consensus is that while this represents a psychological victory of sorts, there is concern that attention has been diverted from other fronts, such as treatment and prevention programs. Barbara?
One more note. In mid-November 2020 ran a report by John Stossel on some of the ins and outs of buying a car. The piece was intended to show some inside tips, and yes, some of the tricks of some people who sell automobiles. Well, we've had an unusually heavy mail response from dealers all over the country, many of them complaining that our report maligned an entire industry, and that certainly was not our intent. Of course, we know that there are many thousands of decent and honest people who sell cars for a living, and we hope that our report on some practices was not misinterpreted as an attack on honest, professional car dealers. Well, it's time to go now to Ted Koppel for a word about tonight's Nightline. Ted?
Barbara, tonight on Nightline, the story of a man fighting the AIDS epidemic among IV drug users. He's passing out clean needles, but several states say those tactics are illegal, and now he's facing jail. We'll meet him tonight. Hugh?
Thank you, Ted. Before we go, I want to offer congratulations to ABC News President Roone Arledge and to you, Barbara, because of what's going to happen this weekend when both of them will be inducted into television's Hall of Fame. That's quite an honor.
And one of the nice things is that you will be coming to California to participate in the presentation, and I wouldn't want to be there if my friend and colleague were not with me.
That's a nice note to end on. And we are ending because that's 2020 for tonight. We thank you for being with us.
And remember that we're in touch, so you be in touch. I'm Barbara Walters.
And I'm Hugh Downs.
And for all of us here in 2020, have a nice weekend. Good night.
We help more Americans go to college, and we issue more MasterCard and Visa cards than any other company. We also serve millions of customers in every major marketplace worldwide. We're Citicorp and Citibank, America's largest financial services company. Whatever financial success you hope to achieve, whether it's business or personal, we can help you do it, and do it better than anyone else. Citicorp, because Americans want to succeed, not just survive.
Control. I strive for it. My cat achieves it. He has amazing control. And now he has an amazing new cat litter. Control cat litter. This ammonia-sensitive paper shows how the leading litter lets ammonia odor build until it's out of control. But new control keeps ammonia under control. New Control cat litter. Because cats have amazing control. And now, so do you.
ABC's Professional Bowlers Tour returns for a new year with the AC Delco Classic. Then,
hey, kid, check this out. I've invented a new sport called beach bowling.
Wait a minute, Lou. Wrong show. We're on ABC's Wide World of Sports after bowling.
Oh, so instead of playing with that, we'll be playing with this.
Yeah. Join the Harlem Globetrotters in the Bahamas on Wide World season premiere, all next Saturday on ABC Sports.
If you wish a transcript of this program, send $4 to Journal Graphics, 267 Broadway, New York, New York, 10007, or call 212-227-READ.